So I made a top. I made this sometime back in 2022. So the other day I was going through my gallery and I saw it. I'm like, let me make a tutorial for it. So this is really size small. So this is how it turned out. I just added this. Yeah, so anyway, if you've just found my channel, kindly click on the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on. It means so much to me. For those of you who have always been here, I appreciate you so much. So I can see it matches with the top. Yeah, so if I don't want to wear the shirt, I will just wear this and go maybe to the beach. Yeah. I added some beads, so something like this. Yeah. Today's tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you how to make a crochet top. It might or might not end up being a boho top, so we will figure that along the way. I am going to be using a medium weight yarn for this, and I will be using two number of hooks. I have a 3mm hook and a 4mm hook. This is my main shade of yarn that I will use. It is just this yarn left, so if it allows, we will figure out how to advance this crochet top. At some point we might need beads. You will need a needle and then a scissor plus a tape measure. Now let me put this aside and we start working on our top. We are going to first start with the 4mm hook like that. So I will unravel my yarn from here and make a chain. The chain I'm making is going to be able to cover all the side of my boobs. So place a tape measure on the side of your boob and make sure that it can cover the side of your boob. So that is what we are going to be making. So I'm going to crochet a chain that I see can wrap the side of my boobs, and then I'll come back here and tell you how many number of chains those are. But for those of you who are not familiar with how to make a chain, this is how I make mine. I wrap my yarn on my hook like this, tilt it like that, and then pull up a loop, tighten this. Okay, so let's go ahead, make the chain for our desired boob size. I'm going to make the one that can wrap all the sides of my boobs. I also want this to be able to show some cleavage, not so much, but just a little. Then when I'm done, I'll come back here and tell you how many number of chains those are. I have chain 30. When I put this on the side of my boobs, it was able to wrap the whole of it. Now what we are crocheting is going to be in such a way that we shall be wrapping it around our body. So it's going to be coming in a slanting way like this. Maybe let me get a paper and demonstrate. So I want to be able to make a top that is going to wrap. Let's say this is, okay, like that. So I want to be able to make a top that can be able to wrap like that. Okay, so we are actually going to make a top that should be able to wrap like this. So the chain that I made is for it to cover all the side of my boobs from here. Okay, and when I made my chain, Those were 30 number of chains for me. I know this drawing is not perfect, but it gives you a clear picture of what I'm going to be working with. So I've chained 30. The 30 number of chains are able to wrap the side of my boobs. Now let's proceed to row 1. To start row 1, you are going to chain 2, wrap your yarn on your hook, and then insert it in the 3rd chain here. Pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, and then pull through all. So for this row 1, we'll make half double crochets. That is 2, 3, 4. Okay, repeat this up to the end of the row. I'm going to meet you when we start row 2. I'm through with row 1. I have 31 number of stitches here. So you're going to chain 1, turn your work. For row 2, we will be making half double crochet in the back loops. So this is how you will do it. You will go in the back loop. When you turn this like this, you're able to see these 2 loops. So instead of going in the front loop, you are going to put a half double crochet in the back loop like that and make a half double crochet. Okay, the chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, so we shall be making half double crochets in the back loop up to the end of row 2. At the end of row 2, you should have 31 number of stitches, or the exact number of stitches which you started with at the beginning of this tutorial. For those of you who are making my size, this is size small, so you are going to chain 30 plus 2 and then insert your hook in the 3rd chain. At the end of row 1, you should have 31 number of stitches. Turn your work, start row 2, and then put half double crochets in the back loop only. At the end of row 2, you will still have 31 number of stitches. I'm going to meet you at the end of row 2 so that I will guide you on how to start row 3. Approaching to the end of row 2, I have 2 stitches left, so I'm going to put 1 stitch here, and then the last stitch is going to be in the chain 2 which we made at the beginning of row 1. So you are going to insert your hook in there in the back loop and make a double crochet. At the end of this row, you will have 31 number of stitches. Start row 3 by chaining 1. The chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, and then you repeat row 2 for row 3 like that. I'm going to leave you to crochet row 3 and row 4. Repeat row 2 for those 2 rows. I will meet you again when we are going to start row 5. Ensure that you have the exact number of stitches which you started with. Catch you in row 5. I'm at the end of row 4. Now we are going to start row 5. In row 5, we'll be reducing, and we will reduce in a way that it goes in a V shape. Okay, so the reduction will be on both sides of our rows. And I have a stitch marker here for people who have trouble where to mark or note the reduction areas. So for row 5, you are going to chain 1. The chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, so you are going to wrap your yarn on your hook, go at the back loop of this first stitch, pull up a loop, and then go again in the second stitch, pull up a loop. You have 4 loops on your hook, and then you pull through all. That is your first reduction. You can get your stitch marker and put it here like that. We will make half double crochets until when we are left with 2 stitches at the end, and that is where I'll meet you again for the second reduction. So catch you when I'm almost at the end of row 5. I'm left with 2 stitches at the end, and we are going to reduce again. You are going to wrap your yarn on your hook, insert in this back loop, and then go in this last stitch here, back loops only, pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook and then pull through all. Okay, that is your second reduction. Put a stitch marker here and then chain 1. At the end of row 5, you will have 29 number of stitches. We started with 31 number of stitches, have reduced twice on both sides, so that is going to make this stitch count to reduce to 29. So for row 4, you've already chained 1, you turn your work. Row 4, we shall not be reducing. I can now remove my stitch marker. I had used it as a guide for people who might not know where to reduce from, but if you're not well versed with the reductions, you can continue getting the stitch marker as long as you crochet. So for row 6, I'm going to make half double crochet in every stitch, and we shall not be reducing. At the end of this row, we will still have 29 number of stitches. I'm going to meet you when we are starting row 7. I'm at the end of row 6. Now for row 7, you're going to chain 1, turn your work. You will repeat what we did in row 5 for row 7, like that. At the end of row 7, you will have 27 number of stitches. At the end of row 8, you will still have 27 number of stitches. So you will repeat row 5 and row 6 for row 7 until when you can have this wrapping on your boobs like this. Okay, so we shall reduce this until when it is at this point. You know how this is the center of your boobs? I'm still going to refer back to this drawing, but just picture that this is the center of your boobs, and you will crochet this like while you crochet and place it on the sides of your boob, and it has covered the whole side of your boobs, and it is already somewhere here in the center. That's when you stop with the reduction. I'm going to continue until when I wrap this on my boobs and I'm at the center, I can be able to stop with the reduction and be able also to tell you how many number of rows and stitches those were, so that we can proceed making this crochet top. So this is already row 2, 4, 6. This is already row 7. At the end of row 7, you will have 29 number of stitches, same for row 8, and then row 9 you will have 25 number of stitches, same for row 10. In row 11 you will have 23 number of stitches, same for row 12. I will meet you when this can wrap all the side of my boobs, so that we can proceed to the next part in this tutorial. So I have reduced up to that point which I mentioned. I have 19 rows here. At the end of row 19, I have 15 stitches. So in row 20, we are not going to decrease, but only maintain this 15 number of rows. So chain 1, turn your work. You're going to put a half double crochet in this first stitch here. The chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. At the end of row 20, you should have 15 number of stitches. Same for row 11, row 12, 13, up to that point when you can be able to crochet until when it can cover this side of my belly, and also fold a little bit behind. Until that time, I cannot be sure how many rows those are going to be, but what you should note is that you are not decreasing anymore. You are repeating row 19 over and over again until it wraps around your belly. I'll come back here and indicate to you what to do next. For now, catch you until then. But you should note that your top is beginning to take shape like this, It started as a straight pattern and is now curving in to make a V shape, except at a certain point here you have to maintain a straight line. The one which I meant is going to be able to cover the side of your belly. So let's meet when I'm done crocheting my number of rows, and then we proceed to the next part in this tutorial. I have crocheted up to row 44. Now in row 45 we are going to reduce again on both sides. Chain 1, turn your work. This is able to cover the side of my tummy, but keep extending until when it can cover the side of your tummy, and also wrap a little on your back like this. So for row 45 we'll reduce again on both sides. At the end of row 45 we will have I think 13 stitches. Let's first see how this goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now in these last 2 stitches we are going to reduce. Pull up a loop once, go in the second stitch, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 4. At the end of row 45 you will have 13 stitches. Row 46 you will still have 13 stitches. You will repeat row 45 and 46 like that 2 more times. I think let's do 5 rows. So row 45 we have 13 stitches, same for 46. Then row 47 we are going to have 11 stitches. Row 48 11 stitches. Row 49 we will have 9 stitches. So let's reduce up to row 49 until when we have 9 stitches. I'll come back here and show you what to do next in row 50. Now this is row 49. We have 9 number of stitches. For row 50 we shall not reduce. So in row 50 you chain 1 and still maintain 9 stitches at the end of this row. We are now done making what can wrap our tummy up to the back. We shall be extending this to act as a belt because you want it to tie behind. Instead of us going to be using a rope, we shall use this extension to tie our top. Now I'll extend this for a few rows, I think around 10 to 11 rows, and then I'll meet you here to also show you what to do for the next other subsequent rows. Ensure that you maintain 9 stitches for as long as you extend this. For those of us who are making size small, this is what you should do. I will come back here and let you know on which number of row I've stopped so that we can again do another set of reduction. Catch you until then. But this is how your top is beginning to look like from up here to this other side. And now we are making the extension that we use for tying from behind. I have extended it up to row 62. Now let's reduce again for row 63 on both sides. 1, 2, and then pull through all the 4. At the end of row 63 we will have 7 number of stitches. Same for 64. And in row 65 we will again reduce like that. These are 2, 4, 6, 7. So let's reduce until when we have 5 stitches. So now at the end of row 66 I have 5 number of stitches. So let's continue with this 5 number of stitches up to row 70. Okay, so this is now row 67 for me, meaning I have 3 more rows. At the end of row 70, I should still maintain 5 number of stitches. I'll meet you when I'm at the end of my 70th row. Now I think this extension is enough. This is long enough. This can really wrap around my body, and I can use the rest of it to tie. So I will stop at row 70. For row 71, we will slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work, and slip stitch in all these 5 stitches. 2, 3, 4, and then this last stitch, 5, chain 1, pull out your yarn and cut it out. Get your needle, hide out this loose end, cut it out. Now this is how one side of your top looks like. So we are going to use this yarn to make a flower, which we will attach on this top. So I am going to change my hook to the 3mm hook. Let's begin with how we are going to make the flower. For the flower, you are going to make a magic ring. There are so many ways of making a magic ring, and this is how I make mine. I just roll the yarn round like this and then hold it somewhere here. I insert my hook inside the loop and then make a chain. Inside this loop here, make 12 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll make 12 single crochets and meet you when I'm done. I've already made my 12 number of single crochet. This is where I will close the row by pulling this string like this. Okay, and then you are going to slip stitch on top of this first stitch you see here, like that. Now for row 1, you will chain 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then come on top of this first stitch, slip stitch, slip stitch in the second stitch, chain 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then slip stitch in the next stitch here, and then slip stitch in the next stitch, chain 16 again. So you are going to repeat this up to the end of this row. I am going to meet you when we are almost at the end of our row. So now I'm at the end of my row. You're going to slip stitch here like that. It's really tight. And then slip stitch in this place here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals. Now for these petals, you are going to make inside here 16 number of single crochets. Okay, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, make 16 single crochets inside here. I'll meet you when I'm done making my 16 single crochets. I have made 16 single crochets inside this petal. Now we are going to move on to the second one. Slip stitch here, and then repeat the same pattern inside here and make 16 single crochets. That's 3. All right, you will repeat this for every petal that you see here. When you're at the end of the row, you slip stitch and then make another 16 single crochets inside all these petals. I'll meet you when I'm done with mine so that we can proceed to the next step in this tutorial. I have finished to make single crochets in all the petals. This is how your flower is looking like. So let's complete this row by making a slip stitch in here, slip stitch, pull out your yarn like that, long enough, and cut it out like that. So now when you have determined where you will attach the flower from, we will remove out this stitch marker. Okay, insert your yarn inside this needle. Is what we are going to use for sewing this down. While you're here and haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly click on the subscribe button, turn your notification bell on so that you'll be alerted of every new video that I upload. I appreciate all of you who have been with me right from the beginning. So let's go ahead and attach this. I'm again going to remove the stitch marker because I know where to attach. So I will insert this in there like that. Okay, and then go right in there, pass the needle from in here, hold it up like that, and then I'm going to go in here like that, and then from right under here I pass it from in here like that, and then I pass it again right in here like that. Okay, so the point is that I should be able to pass my needle so that I can stitch it just at the edge of this circle. Okay, let's do that again. In here, and then like that. Okay, and then we pass it again, and then like that. Okay, so we are going to stitch this all around up to the point where we started from. I will meet you when I'm done. I have completed attaching this all around, so let's find a way of hiding this yarn like this. So we are going to hide this yarn like that. Like that. Get your scissor and cut it out. This is how it looks like. Now the next part is for you to attach these petals down like this. So I'm again going to insert my yarn inside this needle like that. Pull out the yarn long enough and cut it out. So we will stitch these petals down like this, okay, all round. I'm going to show you how to stitch one, and then I'll leave you to continue with the rest. So this is what you'll do. You'll insert your needle inside here. You start from down here and bring it right up here like that. And pull it out, okay, like that. Now you have secured the yarn. You're going to again insert it inside this stitch, under this stitch. Now place it down like that and pull, okay. So you're going to go under here from behind like the way you're saying, like that, okay. As long as you know that you're stitching this down, don't make it too tight because you don't want it to be too stiff. All right, like that. And then back in here. That's enough. Now let's hide out this yarn. It's hidden. Like that. One more time. From here. And now let's hide out this yarn. Like that, okay. Get your scissor and carefully cut out this yarn. So this is your petal, okay. We shall now do the same for the remaining 5. I'm going to do the rest off camera, and I'll meet you right back here when I'm done. So now I have finished to attach the petal onto my top. This is just one side of our top. Make a second one. This is the second one. When you've made 2 of this like this, you will attach and make sure that they look exactly the same. Now the next part in this tutorial is for us to make our string, okay, the rope that we'll use for tying this up. So I am going to get my 4mm hook, which we started this tutorial with, then get my yarn. You can put this aside here, and then attach your yarn inside here, okay. Make a chain. I'm going to make a chain that is long because I want when I tie this it is not too short, okay. So let's make a chain of 70. When I'm done making my 70, I'll come back here and we see what to do with it. If I find that the 70 number of chain is not enough, I will increase until when I have 80, because I want to tie this thing with ease. I don't want it to be too short, okay. So catch you when I'm done making those desired number of chains. I've chained 90. This is just enough for me. So now let's make single crochet. All right, you are going to go in the second stitch and make a single crochet. I wanted to make a half double crochet, but I don't want it to be too thick. So single crochet, can work. We'll make single crochet up to the end of this chain. I'll meet you when I'm done making my single crochet. I'm at the end of my chain. So there's this one stitch here, this stitch, make a single crochet, and then inside here where you started from, make a slip stitch like that, and then slip stitch on the side here. Yeah, slip stitch here. You should be able to see the stitch, and then slip stitch in the next. Okay, you are going to slip stitch up to this end here, up to this end. I will meet you when I'm done slip stitching up to the end. So this is how your slip stitches should look like. I have slip stitch up to the end, chain another 90. I'll meet you when I'm done chaining 90. I am done making my chain. I wanted to make 90 number of chains, but I'm running out of yarn and I don't want to add any other shade of color to this project. So instead of 90, I've chained 80. And also instead of making a single crochet, I will be slip stitching so that I don't run out of yarn. So to slip stitch, I'm going to go in the second stitch, pull up a loop and slip stitch like that. So for this other downer part, we will be slip stitching up to the end of this chain, but you can make the desired number of chain, anything that can tie very well down there. Okay, the purpose is to make a chain that is very long enough that when you tie this, it is neater, smarter on you. Okay, so let's make slip stitches up to the end of this chain, and we meet right back here when we are all done. All right, like that. I have slip stitch up to the end, so we are going to join this here with a slip stitch, go in the second stitch, go in the third one, and then here pull out your yarn, cut it out, get your needle. We're going to hide out this loose end. You will be hiding out every loose end.
Okay, like that. Like that.
Get your scissor and cut it out. So you are done with one side like this. So make a second one exactly the same. All right, put this yarn aside, make a second one. Now I'm going to show you how to insert this bead in here. The bead part is entirely optional, but if you're interested in beading, you can get around four like this, and then do this. Okay, come in here, I made this top in 2022, and yesterday I was going through my phone gallery and then I found it in my phone. I'm like, why not make it? So it doesn't really take very long to make. I've been making this since morning, of course, while doing other house chores. If I was just sitting on it, I think I would give it 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, but I've spent a whole day on it because I needed to do my house chores. So this is how the whole thing has turned out, and which means with this you've literally come to the end of this tutorial. You are going to tie this behind like this. I wanted to add fringes to this top so that we can have that boho look, but then I ran out of yarn, which means this is not enough for me to create what I want. Then this other part, you tie it behind here like this. I hope really this is appearing on camera, but either way. And then you tie this like that, and this is how your top is supposed to look like. Let me see if this fit on the screen. Yeah, it really does. Although not all of it, but it can give you a picture of what I'm working with. With this, you have come to the end of this tutorial. As usual, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, okay? Bye. Catch you again in my next video. I'm going to match this with the shirt, which I just put up a tutorial last week. Bye bye.